All right, Cam, we did this to start the show. We did a very quick rumors roundup. Let's kind of stretch it out a little bit more and go through the big rumors that we've been hearing today. We're going to start with Sam Bradford because that was kind of the lead NFL story that we started with this morning. Sam Bradford might be active on Sunday. This coming from Ben Volin, the NFL beat writer for the Boston Globe. Hasn't really been corroborated by a lot of people yet. We didn't get anything from a Schefter or a Rappaport. We're giving this one 2 Goodell heads.
Yeah, we're giving it 2 Goodell heads with good reason, right? I'm kind of curious as to how a Boston Globe reporter got the scoop about a Minnesota Vikings
Ben
story.
Volin for you.
So, head scratcher a bit, and Mike Zimmer really did not lean either way.
He beat around the bush.
He
is
did,
what
right.
You're looking
He
for.
was very diplomatic with his answer today. So, look, I think it's an interesting story. And, look, the Minnesota Vikings activating Sam Bradford, a quarterback we have not seen for some time, play NFL football, talking about week 5 here. I think it's kind of an emergency type of situation. If Case Keenum were to get hurt in the game against New Orleans, maybe they bring in Sam Bradford and let him air it out a little bit. But, you know, you still got Teddy Bridgewater as well, so maybe he's a super emergency quarterback. So it's an interesting rumor. I don't think there's really much to it. Even if he does get activated, it's not like he's going to start. It's going to be Case Keenum against New Orleans. So even if this does end up being true, and we should know pretty darn soon, there's really not much to it.
Yeah, and I also kind of question whether or not you actually want Sam Bradford over Teddy Bridgewater. At least Teddy Bridgewater has played in the past couple of weeks. I mean, I understand Sam Bradford's probably the better quarterback right now, but it's an interesting one. So we're going to bring up a reaction poll here, Cam, and I like this one. Who should the Vikings start at quarterback in 2018? Should they? By the way, all 3 of these guys are free agents. Bridgewater, Keenum, and Bradford. All their contracts are up at the end of the year. They didn't give Bridgewater's 5th-year option. Obviously, with the knee injury, we weren't really sure which direction it was going to go. Give us a thumbs up for Bradford. Give us a heart for Case Keenum. A laughing face for Teddy Bridgewater. And an angry face for other. Cam, who you got?
So I think the Vikings should start Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's time to put him back into the fold. And I'm saying this in the sense because I believe Case Keenum is on his way out, and I think Pat Shurmur may drag Case with him to Arizona when Shurmur accepts the offer from the Cardinals, right? Because those were the reports about Pat Shurmur. He's highly coveted by those in Arizona, and with 3 free agent quarterbacks coming in Minnesota, I mean, there's no way they're going to keep all 3 of them. So if Keenum's gone, can you really trust Sam Bradford to be your week 1 starter? I'm going to say no. So I'm leaning towards Teddy Bridgewater here. I think he should be the guy with the Minnesota Vikings in week 1 starting under center in 2018.
I'm going to have to completely 100% agree with you there. But we're going to move on to our next rumor. Let's go to Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
This Giants job, in my opinion, is probably the most enigmatic thing because we've no real clue about what direction they're going to go. Do they want to go defense? They want to go offense? They even want to maybe go special teams. But apparently they have been narrowed down. They've been doing interviews for the past couple of weeks. And we now have 3 options for head coaches. The options are Josh McDaniels from the Patriots, Pat Shurmur, the Vikings offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator for the Patriots, Matt Patricia. And apparently Matt Patricia is the far and away favorite for this and the likely choice. So we're giving this 3 Goodell heads, more probable than not.
Yeah, so Matt Patricia wants to go to the Big Apple. Makes sense to me, and I guess you could make the argument that in terms of a brand standpoint, the Giants' vacancy is probably the most highly sought after by all the coaching candidates out there. So for Matt Patricia to favor the Giants is no surprise, and I think he would be a pretty darn good fit out there as well, and Belichick gets to avoid him because he's going to the NFC, so add that. But, of course, the Lions are in the NFC as well, and you can't ignore the Bob Quinn connection with Matt Patricia, Quinn, the GM there in Detroit.
Yep.
And, of course, the GM there in Detroit has connections to New England, and so that's something to kind of keep an eye on. But look, Matt Patricia, it seems like he's been everywhere in terms of the interviews.
It seems like everybody wants him.
Everybody wants him. And Dave Gettleman, the GM for the Giants, is going to take his time with this selection here. So we may not hear about the Giants hiring a new head coach until maybe late next week, maybe even the week after. Gettleman, the new GM there, wants to go through his due diligence.
And mind you, when he made a coaching hire for the Panthers, he hired another defensive coordinator, Ron Rivera, who was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers for a couple years in there before he was hired. Apparently, one more thing about the Matt Patricia job. Apparently, the Giants view him as, quote, the ultimate Bill Belichick protege, considering he was close to a blank canvas when he arrived in New England, end quote. That report coming from ESPN. So an interesting, dichotomy here in terms of Matt Patricia with the New York Giants. Interesting story.
I think it'd be a great hire, no matter where he goes. And the report is also that if Patricia were to go to the Giants, then Detroit would probably hire Mike Vrabel, and then vice versa. If Patricia went to Detroit, it's also very possible the Giants hire Vrabel. So watch out for Mike Vrabel among these two squads as well.
Patriots
You gotta
East,
love it.
I don't know if it'd be Patriots East because they're in the East, but a couple of options for the Giants and New England Patriots. Let's move on to another Patriots coordinator, Josh McDaniels. This report coming at us from Ian Rappaport that Josh McDaniels is in the lead spot for the Colts job. So this is an interesting one for me, Cam, because they obviously want him because they need an offensive-minded coach, especially with Andrew Luck coming through. But at the same time, I ask this question. This is the reason why we have two Goodell heads. Does Josh McDaniels want the Colts? Because the presiding story around McDaniels is that he wanted to go to a place with a stable owner that was in a big market. No offense to Indianapolis, but big market, not so much. Stable owner, certainly not with Jim Irsay. It'd be an awkward fit. I don't know if it would work out.
Yeah, look, this could be a bit of the Chris Ballard factor here. I think he's a great GM, and he is putting all of his resources into this head coaching search. Why? Because it's really his first time doing it. Because he gave Chuck Pagano kind of a one-year tryout, right? He said, okay, Chuck, go ahead, see what you can do. And obviously when you don't have Andrew Luck, you can't really produce a lot of wins, especially with that team. So Chuck got canned, and Ballard now has the opportunity to go through his own head coaching search. And from what I understand, Ballard is putting in a lot of resources for one Josh McDaniels. And McDaniels is highly coveted by many teams out there, kind of like Matt Patricia.
Right.
And so, look, you're going to hear rumors about McDaniels, it seems, for the next 5-6 days, who's the favorite and who's not the favorite. So, look, I think McDaniels, you're right, could be a weird fit in Indianapolis, but don't forget about the Chris Ballard factor. Let's kind of erase the Jim Irsay part of things because, look, nobody's a good fit for Jim Irsay. It's just a fact. But I do think Josh McDaniels would fit in well with Andrew Luck. And I think that's something that matters most to Chris Ballard. And so we'll see what happens.
I think Josh McDaniels would be an interesting fit for Indianapolis. I still think New York would be a best fit. But, hey, I'm not John Morrow. I'm not making the hires over there in New York. Let's move on to our next NFL rumor. This one isn't even a rumor. This one is just a straight-up 100% fact. The Bills have, in fact, fired offensive coordinator Rick Dennison for Goodell heads. 100% fact. It has happened today. Not too much of a surprise. The offense was kind of a mess when it came to literally anything they did on offense that wasn't giving the ball to LaShawn McCoy. The receiving game was a total mess. The backup running back core is a total mess. Tyrod Taylor was disastrous over the last 10 games of the season, so much that they got benched for Nathan Peterman, who then threw 5 picks in a game against the Chargers. So not great for the Buffalo Bills, though a couple of different options of who they might hire. We're hearing that Mike McCoy or Rob Chudzinski are the two top options right now for the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator job. Mike McCoy, I don't like that one a lot.
Look, the numbers weren't great this year for Buffalo, and especially in the pass game. By the way, the 4th offensive coordinator change for the Bills since 2014. Anthony Lynn, Greg Roman, and Nathaniel Hackett, the other changes within the last 4 years. So, look, I mean, this is kind of a scapegoat kind of deal here. With Dennison gone, I guess the Bills can kind of look ahead and refresh a little bit, reset with the offensive coordinator. But you look at the talent that the Bills have on the offensive side, and there's Kelvin Benjamin there, sure, but he's been injury-riddled. And then you have Zay Jones, and we're kind of waiting for him to emerge, just a rookie, so we can be patient with him. Charles Clay getting older. And, of course, the quarterback position. What is the future of the QB in Buffalo? A lot of question marks there too, Harris.
Yeah, and a lot of work to be done for the new offensive coordinator, whoever the Bills do end up hiring. Just please make sure it's not Mike McCoy. We gave him his chance. It wasn't great. Let's move into our next rumor. Again, not so much of a rumor, but Thomas Davis is planning to retire in 2018. This rumor is actually coming from Thomas Davis himself. He announced it on NFL Network this afternoon. For Goodell heads, he will apparently retire in 2018. Look,
after the season, of course.
So not at the end of this season. At the end of next season is when he's going to retire. But obviously, huge news for the Carolina Panthers, who have rallied around him as their defensive leader, maybe the leader of that entire locker room after only Cam Newton. One of the best linebackers in football. Obviously, an incredible career. He blew out his knee a couple times, had a bunch of shoulder surgeries, but just kept on coming back, revitalized his career the past, I want to say 3 years. And is going out probably on a high note. One of the better linebackers of our time.
Yeah, I mean, a big reason why the Carolina Panthers made it to Super Bowl 50 against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. When you think Carolina Panthers defense, you think about two names, Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, perhaps K'Wan Short as well on that defensive front. And you look at least the Pro Football Focus grades ever since his elite year in 2014 when he had a 90.3 grade. 2015, 85.6. 2016, 72.8. This year, 77.5. So he's hanging around the 70s now, slowly but surely kind of getting to an average grade as a linebacker. So he knows that the wear and tear is starting to occur. And he's essentially saying, all right, Carolina, let's give it one last shot here. And let's see what happens. We've got our new offensive coordinator now in North Turner. We'll see if that can add a spark to the offensive side, and we'll see if we can make a Super Bowl run. Let's do it. Kind of a Ray Lewis type deal, huh?
Our last NFL rumor that we have today, Vic Fangio will be going back to the Bears. For Goodell heads for this one, big-time hire for the Chicago Bears to be able to bring him back.
Look, so the Chicago Bears did not produce a lot of wins this year, but that defense really played fantastically. Kyle Fuller was really solid at corner. Prince Amukamara almost had a bit of a resurgence with a pretty darn good grade, according to Pro Football Focus. And Adrian Amos, the safety, the second-ranked safety, according to PFF. And you have a pretty good linebacking core as well with Trevathan and company. So there are pieces there on the defensive side. And just for sheer consistency's sake, this is obviously a big-time hire. And keeping Fangio there as the DC will only make this defense better. And look, they're going to go to the draft and perhaps draft a couple of good edge rushers too. Watch out for this defense next year.